Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained a new me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear I speak truth, I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, water in every dry place. As I flow to the notes that heaven navigates, let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story. As I bask in the truth of his word before me, he opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, February 16th, and this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. And yes, gang, we are live on Facebook. Our contact number here is 301 655 9992. That's 301 655 9992. We're also live on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. And of course, you can always visit our excellent website at www.tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, we'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers and your support. We hear you loud and clear. And for everyone that has reached out wanting to contribute to the show and our ministry, Dr. Lauren and I most definitely appreciate it so very, very much. With that, we appreciate your patronage, and you can bless us to keep creating content and spreading the word of God. Our business cash app here is hashtag $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. We sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed that you sow into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. As usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things that he's already done for us and that he's going to continue to do for us in the future in 2025 and in 2026, because we're talking about the new things that are coming in 2026. Can you guys believe January is over already? Look, our theme for 2026 is the year of discovery, grace for beyond in 2026, so that we can be transformed to a level that none of us has walked in before, so that 2026 can be the best year of our lives. Amen. And our foundational scripture for the entire year of 2026 is found in 2 Peter 3:18. And this is from the Good News Translation and the Good News Translation Bible. And it says, "But continue to grow in grace and knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. To him be the glory now and forever. Amen." To God be the glory, right, Dad? Yep, yep, yep. Hey, gang, I'm pleased to announce our community Hope Center at VCCI, Victory Christian Church International. We've started our grocery distribution program, and we're currently feeding 50 families in the designated zip codes on the third Saturday of each month at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay. Our location is at 7-7 Metropolitan Court, and that's in Gaithersburg, Maryland. The zip code there is 20878. And it's open to all residents of the following zip codes: 20877, 20878, 20879, 20855, and 20882, and anyone that lives in Montgomery Village, and it's on a first come first served basis while supplies last. Say that again, Tommy Bomb. While supplies last, you can scan the QR code to register, or you can register on site. That is available, but all participants must complete a registration form. Please, please listen. Our goal is to work up to 100 families soon, so be in agreement with us to get to this goal, get to this number. We want to be a blessing to our community that we serve. Our late great Pastor Dwayne Brewerton used to say that if a church leaves a community and the community doesn't miss them, then that church was never supposed to be there in the first place. Okay, is that you or me?
You might need first.
I don't know where your phone is, honey. Don't you just love a live show? Let's get to our trivia question for today. Our trivia question is East St. Louis native Gina Moore just won her first Super Bowl ring. Woohoo, Gina! I'm wearing the Seattle Seahawks color in honor of Gina. Okay, so Gina won her first Super Bowl ring a couple of weeks ago with the Seattle Seahawks. So our trivia question for today is: how many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings? Repeat that again. How many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings? All right, let's get to our poll question from last week. Our poll question last week was Hall of Fame. Deion Sanders says that only Hall of Fame members should vote on incoming Hall of Fame players. The poll question was, do you agree or disagree? And 94% of you guys and gals out there agreed with Prime Time on this one, that only Hall of Fame players should be able to vote on incoming Hall of Famers. Right. Hey, gang, I just want to give a birthday shout out, heavenly happy birthday shout out to my beautiful, beautiful sister Mignon. Mignon, your siblings, siblings don't always say everything out loud, but the bond is there, steady, loyal, and real. I'm so glad that you were part of my life. Growing up with you made my childhood more interesting. It was never dull, and in our family, we all experience a little bit of crazy. If you know the Wood family, a little bit of crazy, a little bit of loud, and a whole lot of love. As I got older, I appreciated you even more and more. Thanks for being someone who could always be counted on. I've always admired your intelligence and been proud to have you as a sister. Your quick wit and your no nonsense and willingness to fairly always call a spade with no prejudice. Okay, you were the glue person in our family, and we all miss you tremendously, me now. And yeah, happy heavenly birthday today. We speak of you often, and you're always not far from our thoughts, whether it's when we're watching a Cardinals baseball game, or playing Monopoly, or Yahtzee, or your favorite with Scrabble, Rummy Cup, or just getting ready. We all going to church together. Our lives have all been enriched and better because you were part of it. We love you from the whole Wood clan. Happy heavenly birthday, Mignon. We love you. Hey, gang. I'm so thrilled to introduce today's guest, Mr. Patrick E. Smith Sr. He's the chairman and president of Ameren, Illinois. And for our viewers in the DMV in this area, that's equivalent to the CEO of Washington Gas or Pepco. In fact, that's what we call it in our area. Okay, as we continue to spotlight and highlight East St. Louis, Illinois, City of Champion residents. Patrick has been employed with Ameren for nearly 4 decades. And I've had the privilege and honor of knowing Patrick for over 55 years. I know I don't look that old, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Pat, Pat, I like to say, Pat, remember when I was skinny? Pat,
I don't know.
you said you don't know. Look, look, check this out. Pat. When I was in college, one of my professors told us that by the time we had graduated and been out of school, been out of college for at least 10 years, that we would have changed jobs at least 7 times. And I remember thinking, man, that's crazy. No way am I going to have had 7 jobs inside of 10 years. But when I got to that 10th year, I was right on job number 5 or 6. Man, explain, Pat, how do you work for one company for almost 40 years? Explain that, Pat.
Well, hey, Tommy, first of all, man, thank you for having me on. I mean, I think you're doing some incredible work, bringing on some amazing guests. So I'm honored to be called upon this time here to be on the show. It's always good to talk to you and Lauren as well.
Mhm,
And so I'm looking forward to a good conversation. But yeah, you talked about me in 4 decades.
mhm,
One of the things about working for a large corporation, Tommy, is that you can often have a simulation where it seems like it's multiple companies because there's so many
mhm.
different things that the company does and so many different types of jobs. So yeah, although I've been at Union Electric slash Ameren for the 4 decades, I've worked multiple different type of jobs doing different things.
Mhm. Look, man, come on, man. We just gonna keep it 100. We gonna have fun today, okay? This
Absolutely.
for your viewers out there. I'm sorry. This is how we talk to each other all the time. So it's not gonna be. We're not putting on a show or for fronts. This is just how we get down when we get together. So no
Right.
matter how long, there is a saying that, especially with guys, that no news is good news. So when we talk to each other, we just pick right up wherever the last conversation left off, no matter how long the time's in between. But okay,
Yes,
let's do some true or false here, Pat. Now, is it true that your first job was with Magic Mike on the pole, and
sir.
and and
Right.
and that you left college because the tips were so good that you just couldn't turn down the money? True or false?
Hey, so now you're negating everything you opened the show with, Tommy. This people
Yeah,
tuning in wondering if this is the right channel.
yeah. The honorable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
so the
said, I
poll,
said, I said, true or false.
you know, it's amazing. The polls that I had experience with were the polls that brought you energy, electricity, the power
Absolutely.
poll. So if that's the definition of the poll, it's true.
So literally, you started off on the pole, man. That's really impressive. Talk to us about, because if I'm not mistaken, because I remember when all of this was first going down, and you were literally going in every person who lived in East St. Louis backyard. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the way I started, so I was at SIU Carbondale. Uh, we went to school and we all went our separate ways. And I found my way to Carbondale, finally trying to figure it out and do a little better in school. And was on a pretty good grind. Uh, and made the dean's list. But I had a student loan, and I was saying, if this is how I'm going to pay for school, I need a job. And so over the summer, I applied. When I got hired, the lady offered me a job. Her name was Johnetta Carver. And then she told me it was a full time job, and I was like, I turned it down because I was like, no. I mean, I'm my parents are looking at me, expecting me to graduate. I have to go back to Carbondale,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I'm just looking for something in the summer.
Hmm.
So she got up, walked from behind her desk, pulled her chair next to me, grabbed my hand, and she sat down, and grabbed my hand, and she said, "Hon, you take this job, and you go talk to your parents. And if because if you walk out this door, I'm gonna offer it to the next person." So my dad was a policeman. I left Union Electric, which is right downtown St. Louis, went straight to East St. Louis PD, found my father who was in the building at the time. And I'm kicking rocks, man. I'm looking down because I'm trying to tell him that I'm taking a full time job. And I hadn't really thought about, you could go to school and do all. Yeah. And so I'm looking down. I finally told him, and I looked up. He grinned ear to ear, ear to ear, and he said, "Man, now you're out of my pocket." So that's how I started. But I started as a meter reader. So you
Hmm.
referenced me being in everyone's yard. At that time, we didn't have the technology. So the way the cash register for energy is the meter on everyone's house or business,
Hmm.
and that tells how much energy they're using, so how much your bill is. So someone had to walk around to every location and read that and then record it and turn it in. So that's what I did for the first 18 months of my employment with the company. I did go to everyone's yard in the Metro East.
Hey Pat, one of the sermons that I preach on marriage and relationships and life in
Mhm.
general, I actually titled it "Good is the Enemy of Great." And I start out by asking this question, raise your hand if you want a good marriage. And most people will raise their hand because, people say, well, I want a good marriage. But if you want a great marriage, then good is the enemy of great. Tie your response with your mentors that have influenced you in your life, and start off with your professional mentors, because we're going to get to dad in a second. Because what I find to be very true about this is true mentors will also be your tormentors. Can you answer that for us?
Yeah, I know, I agree. I think, at some point when you're younger, and the whole focus on mentorship and being a mentor or mentee and sponsorship, all of that, that's fairly recent, the last 2.5 decades. I mean, when you're coming up, you might not know someone like OC Hughes,
Hmm.
who,
Hmm.
would get in your butt
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and tell you some stuff that might hurt your feelings, but it'll straighten out. Then you get older and you understand, you read a few books and you say, oh man, that was one of my first mentors. The lady who went and grabbed my hand and told me what I needed to know was one of my first mentors. One of my definitions, Tommy, is, one of the definitions, there are many, is that a mentor is someone who can make a better decision for you than you can make for yourself sometimes.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's what she did for me. She put me on a different trajectory. But you're right. There's sometimes that there's some folks. I had a supervisor my first supervisor at Ameren. He's passed away. His name was Mr. Jesse Temple. Initially, I did not like him,
Hmm.
and because he everything
Held
about
your
me he
feet to the
picked up.
flames.
Everything, I can't, I mean, we had a habit of maybe going to the club a little bit, as I come in, I came to work one time in dress clothes, and because I knew if I went home, I wasn't going to make it back to work. So I came from the club to work. So I'm sitting there, he had reason to say something, but, in that frame of mind, I'm just thinking he's just picking on me every time. But I really realized later, what I thought was him tormenting me was him really holding me accountable and just telling me, hey, you can be a better man. You can be a better person. You can be a better employee. And so, I thank him for that. I hate that I didn't get to thank him before he passed away. But some of the folks like those in the early days, and the list goes on and on. I could
Yeah.
talk the whole show about folks who have, I call them people on my path,
Hmm.
who have
I like
helped
that.
make a better decision for me
I
than I
like
could have
that.
made for myself at the time.
I like that. People on my path. I like that. You mentioned Mr. O.C. Hughes Sr. He's the reason I
Yeah.
ended up at Assumption. If not for Mr. O.C. Hughes Sr., Tom the Bomb would have never been at Assumption. I knew I was going to East Side. Look, so
That's right.
Patrick, listen, we power the quality of life. Tell us
Mhm.
exactly what you do and share with us your journey, like I said, from the poll or the meter reader to CEO and president of Ameren, Illinois.
Yeah, like I said, I started as a meter reader, and then you're working, and you're always looking to make more money, right? And back in the day, the way you saw other jobs, they had them posted up on boards. So I saw a job for an apprentice line worker. It was it's a lot more money. I said, so I wanted to do that. So I applied for that. So I became an apprentice, and then I became what they call a journey line worker. And basically, we're the people who build the grid, repair the grid.
Mhm.
Uh, when the power goes out, you come out and you replace poles, change poles. When they build a mall, you build the new infrastructure. So basically, the energy grid. And so, our mission statement is powering the quality of life, because there's nothing that's going on right now.
Mhm.
If the electricity went out, this meeting would be this call would be over. There's nothing that going
Yeah.
on right now with anyone anywhere doing anything that they can't do it without power. So you need water. Then after that, you basically need energy to live your life, and we become dependent on it. So, but I came through the organization. I became a journey line worker, and I worked across the country. And sometimes you hear about these hurricanes in different parts
Mhm.
of the country. One of the things, and I love this, we would deploy to other parts of the country, Tommy,
Mhm.
and be able to work and help other folks, and you make a few dollars while you're doing it. But it was just so much fun. It was athletic. I like being outside. I like moving around. But what I liked most was when I was at home in East St. Louis and working around the corner, by Young's or my grandmother's or the Orange Rice House. So, just, all the different places that you grew up with, you see your cousins, you see your friends. So I just love doing things in my community that would make it better. But from there, I got a chance to go into management as a supervisor, did that for a few years, and ultimately was asked to be an analyst, a professional analyst. I turned that job down because I said, no, I'm making all this money, going across the country, making all this overtime, making a bunch of money. I don't want to go wear a shirt and a tie and work in the office and be an analyst. But there's another gentleman, a person on my path, a mentor named John Beaver. He came to me, he said, man, I love you like a son, but you got to go. He said, they asked you to go and they're only picking certain people. And he told me to go. And I trusted him and I took the job, and it led to other promotions. Eventually, I went to Missouri, worked over there, eventually ran regions, then became a vice president of operations in the Missouri state, where I did that. I took a role where, and this is for young folks who might be listening, doing something kind of out of your view. I took a role as vice president of economic, community, and business development. So that was different from operations. And when our CEO asked me, hey, this is what I want you to do, I was like, wow, that nothing in my history had really been similar to that, but it was one of the greatest growth experiences I had. It was only like 12, 13 months I did it, but I worked with the legislators, the governor, the big business. And so it was a different view of the business. But then after that, I came into Illinois, became a senior vice president. And then on January 1 of this year, I was appointed chairman and president of Ameren, Illinois. So that's just a kind of, condensed, a lot of jobs in there. I probably skipped a few, but that was a condensed version of just my journey just within Ameren to where I sit today.
Well, you know how proud we are of you. I specifically remember when you became senior vice president, and I remember when I heard it, and how can I say this? I was almost, I don't want to say offended, but I was like, senior vice president, senior vice president, senior vice president. I said, they don't know what I know. I said, it ain't gonna be no time before you gonna be before you gonna be president. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And now, bingo, chairman and president. Look, Pat, let's talk about the city of champions. Let's talk about East St. Louis, Illinois. When I initially did my first segment on the city of champions, Pat, doing my research, I came up with initially like 400 people to start off the first show on the City of Champions. And I thought, there's no way I can do a single show and cover 400 different people, let alone share their stories. So for that first show, I had to cut it down to 20 people for the first show. And that was extremely hard, getting down to just 20. And from that first show, I realized that this was going to have to be a regular segment on the Tom the Bomb show to properly highlight the City of Champions. So let me start off by sharing that when I was trying to get Jackie Joyner Kersey on the show, and I spoke with you, and I said, Pat, I'm having trouble contacting and getting in touch with Jackie, and I said, and you said, well, I know Jackie, and I said, well, if you know Jackie, then that means I know Jackie. and that's how, and some of the people say, man, how'd you get Jackie Joyner on your show? I was like, it wasn't me. And then, then I had Eric Wright on of the 49ers. And Eric said, Tommy, why don't you have Dr. Harry Edwards on? He's from East St. Louis. I said, Eric, I don't know Dr. Harry. And Eric said, don't worry about it. I'll handle it for you, bro. So that's how we got things done. So here's my question to you. How does so much world-class talent come from such a small city? And I'm not just talking about sports. We know about the sports. How do you think that so much talent comes from this small, tiny Midwestern towns, Pat?
Yeah, hey, Tommy, I marvel at that myself, man. I think about some of the legends, Donald McHenry, Miles Davis, others, when I start and I look at giants, I never was like a hero guy. I like sports, obviously follow, some of the greats. But, my whole thing was, my mother and father. I was just always amazed with them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
their story. And I remember like when we were in high school, you know how we had those books where everybody signed your book. Those I forget what the memory books, and
Mm-hmm.
people put the
Right.
little
Right. Right.
poem and this and that, and you're gonna be friends forever, and you're gonna see them people again. But I remember something my mother wrote and something my father wrote, and I remember reading, and that was, believe it or not, it was one of the times I was like, it was so profound what they wrote. I just had never saw them in that light, and and as much as I looked up to them, I didn't realize just how deep they were too. So I always start with my mother and my father
Mm-hmm.
as just
Mm-hmm.
kind of my focal points. But when I think about East St. Louis, something that really kind of rubs me, and it maybe shouldn't, it's people's right to say whatever they want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see folks like, they're being interviewed on a national stage and they're like, I had to escape this, I had to escape that,
Mm-hmm.
or, fighting for my life. I'm born and raised in East St. Louis as well. You are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a city. Any city has is good and bad. But I'm never anything in spite of East St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all I am because of East St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and, and that's the distinction
Mm-hmm.
that I try to carry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I escaped. It's what made me. You know,
Absolutely.
and that's just how I feel about it. And so that's what I think is fuel for a lot of the folks. I mean, I remember, just little things, man. I remember you get hit by a pitch in Corey League. I remember Walter, and you talk. He said, "Where does it hurt at?"
Rub some
And you
dirt on
point
it.
to your head, and then he hits you in your arm. He said, "Your leg still hurt." I mean, this.
That
I
was
mean,
East
that,
St.
that
Louis.
that is right. It was just, man. My memory. I've seen some crazy stuff happen, but nothing to the degree that thing that motivated me. And then when you watching people hustle,
Mm-hmm.
man, and do what they got to do. I see my daddy do stuff just to get things done. That, come on now, what excuse do I have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So because of, not in spite of the city, I think I've had. If you think I've had any measure of success, that's why.
Man, I hadn't thought about that in years. But Walter would do that. Where you
Yeah,
hurt at?
well,
And
that's
then
when
he
you can
hit
hit
you
kids.
somewhere
Back in the
else.
days when you can hit kids and not get in trouble. Yeah,
That's too
can't do
funny,
that
man.
nowadays.
I haven't thought of that in years, man. Look,
Yeah,
man, Pat,
you
what
can't do
what
that. Don't try that. Don't try that nowadays. Anybody
I know
listening,
it. That
don't
won't
don't
work
try
today,
that.
man. That won't work today. You
You
get in
get,
real
you get
trouble,
locked
man.
up.
Look, man, one of the things that I ask all of my guests is number one, who influenced you? Okay. I also talk about when you see me, you're not just looking at me, but you're looking at the people whose shoulders that I'm standing on, and that has influenced that has influence over my life. Well, I got to start off with someone who influenced me and had a tremendous impact on my life, John Smith, your dad. Okay. We don't have enough time to cover the Grand Canyon of that man. Look, your dad was, we're familiar with the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, that's the East St. Louis that we know. That's the East St. Louis that we grew up in, where the neighbors could discipline your children. Okay, don't try that today either. And
Mhm.
I love that he never yelled at us. Okay,
Mhm.
but if he changed the tone of his voice, E.F. Hutton didn't have nothing on him. If his
Yeah.
tonation
Right.
changed, that was all that was needed. If he raised his voice, which was seldom, he got our attention immediately. Okay, and as we got older, I love that he talked to us. He talked to us like men.
Mhm.
We met each other at a very, very young age. People don't really know how you deep and I go back. Not only do we share the same birthday, we were born on the same day. You and I just had a birthday
Mhm.
this week. We were
Mhm.
born on the
Yep.
same day at the same hospital in East St. Louis, St. Mary's. And like I said, we met each other at a young age. But your dad, I don't know if you know, your dad told me that he told me, he said, Tommy, I've known you since the day you was born. And then he went on to share some things that he said when his mom and dad moved to East St. Louis from Mississippi. My grandmother and my grandfather and my grandmother's twin sister, Sister Woodard and
Mhm.
Pop, they actually babysat your father while
Oh
his
wow.
mom and dad worked. So
Wow.
our families have been friends before you and I were even born. Okay. And when I needed things, when we were at Jackie Robinson Core League, and he knew that because of my large family that we just couldn't afford certain things that was important to a kid. Okay, things like getting the right leggings or wristbands or a baseball glove. He made sure that he made sure whatever you had, I had. So
Hmm.
he taught me to pay it forward. So
Yeah.
today, all of Troy's friends, they all call me Pop. And I learned that from John Smith and George
Mhm.
Gray. Tell us about your dad, man.
Yeah, man, Tommy. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I probably was 16 before I'm serious. I realized my dad was human, and because I mean, I just thought I just didn't think I just didn't think anything could happen to him. I didn't think anybody could do anything to him. It's a turn now. You get in corporate, you start learning this stuff, and we go to school, a thing called psychological safety, and and they got a thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you got to have physiological needs and then
Hmm.
safety, and
Hmm.
other things, all the way up to self actualization
Hmm.
and this and that. And so, you get older, you study those things, and then you look back and you understand, you know, that incubation that was happening with my father and me and my sisters, because my daddy was like in those streets, he wasn't nothing to play with. I mean,
Hmm.
people, that's the first thing somebody would say if they, like, you John Smith son, yeah, John don't play. But at home, man, I told him I got probably 40, probably 50 whippers, 49 and a half by my little 5'2" mama. And, yeah, my dad just like you say, man, he just sat there and talked to you. He said, hey man, that wasn't right. Don't he and so I just got images of my father being in positions when we played football. He would always sit at the top row away from people because he didn't want to be talking. He didn't want to be this and that. And
Hmm.
even out there quarterbacking, I could look over there and I knew where he was at.
Yeah.
When I played soccer as a kid, I remember a game. No parents were on the sideline because it was cold and raining. He was out there with a Salem 100 and a leather jacket and some Swedish knit pants in the rain because he had the right gear, but he was cool and wet. And I looked over there. He the only parent over there. I saw the cigarette light up every now and then. Man, I remember that like it was yesterday when I got
Pat, I mean,
my yeah.
one of my very, very favorite stories
Uh,
is tell me that story where when y'all car broke down and it was raining.
oh yeah, man. We
That
come from
that's like
soccer
one of my
practice.
favorite stories, man.
I probably was maybe 8 or 9. I don't know. We come from soccer practice, coming the back way from Goki and over the pocket road near where they call Golden Gardens. Not a street light to be seen from there to all the way home. We were about 3 miles from the house, 2 miles maybe. Car breakdown. It's raining. He get out the car. He said, "Come on, man." And we go to the back of the car. He go in the trunk, get a shotgun. He take his jacket off, put his jacket on me, take his hat off, put his hat on me, and he said, "Come on, man." I said, "Dad, we getting ready to walk?" He said, "Yeah, man. What else we gonna do?" And you know what? I walked with my dad them 2+ miles, and man, it's people in Ameren right now will tell you that they've heard me with that motto. What else we gonna do?
What else you
I
gonna
mean,
do?
that 2 mile trip was like a year in college for me. The stuff I learned just about, hey, he was like, hey, I mean, get it done. He told me this one time, and I'll kick it back to you. He said, man, one day, this is my daddy. He looked me dead in my eye. He said, one day, you're going to be the dude in the room. When something goes wrong, everyone in the room is going to turn and look at you.
Yes, sir.
And you got to be ready.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what he told me. I never
Yeah.
forgot that.
Man,
But that was my man. Hey, that
we gonna
was
get
my
to
man. I
we
didn't think I could make it when he left here, but we working it out.
we gonna get to mom in a second, but
Absolutely. Got to bring him
he
in.
could tell me things that would make hair stand. I remember one time he says, "I see you feeling sorry for yourself," and I kind
Yeah.
of had my head down, and he said, "Come on with me. I'm gonna take you down to the morgue and show you some young men on slabs, and then after
Yeah.
that, let me know if you still." And I was like, "No, that's okay." That's okay.
I get the picture.
I'm,
Yeah, I
I'm feeling
understand.
better now. He would say,
Uh,
whenever you start feeling sad and depressed, I'll take you down to the morgue because you can
yeah,
always
man.
doing worse.
Nah, he was my dude,
my,
100.
my my dude too, man. My dude too.
Mhm.
What about mom? Listen. Real quick. I know I can't let Dr. Lauren. I probably can't get on camera, but I just want her to briefly just talk about the day she met your parents and what it meant the day she met your parents. Lauren, tell us about your first encounter with Dion and John Smith.
Um, well, I'm not on camera, but you got to know this is from the heart. When I met them, um, they welcomed me with such open arms. I immediately felt like part of the family. I knew how much they loved my soon to be husband based on just how they treated me.
Mhm,
And it was such a blessing.
mhm,
It was such a blessing and such a powerful memory.
mhm,
That first encounter. And, I'm married into a large, large family. And it was just the way they received me um, really set the course for our marriage. It really did.
mhm. Your mom said, "Woo, I got another daughter." Tell
Yes,
us about
sir.
mom.
You know what, man? My mother, boy, like my father couldn't have made it if he'd have had my mom's attitude because he was too big and rough. Because my mom was, boy, she did. Hey, I can remember a number of times my dad holding my mother back from trying to get at something.
Yep,
I mean, just
yep.
fearless like that. It was fearless, and what was it? There was nothing she was afraid of. She would try stuff. I remember one time. Uh, she bought a whole bunch of furniture, and I know my dad didn't want her to spend any money, and he fussed at her a little bit, but it filled the family room. And I was asking him about it later. He said, "Hey man, let me tell you something. I fussed at it because I got to, but really that's how it's supposed to work. Because if we went the way I had, you wouldn't have any place to sit in this house, and if it went the way she had, we wouldn't have anywhere to walk. So in the middle, that's what we prefer. But my mom, man. So and one thing about it, I tell you what I remember. My mom was like overly, just protective of me.
Mhm,
I mean, if she liked a young lady, that was probably it's probably like a 7% chance she was gonna like a young lady. And I mean, like Crystal, and me and Crystal ended up getting married. We've been married 30 something years. I got son Patrick Jr. and Brittany and some grandbabies.
mhm.
But she liked Crystal, and that really helped Crystal out a lot, because my mom, man, I tell you, 85% of folks that I even had a thought of dating or this and that, probably 85% of my mom was like, nah. And I don't know if it was something to that, but she just, but what I knew where it came from
Mhm.
was a little bit of bougie, but also her just being protective of her only son. And I know she wanted the best for me. But man, she
Mama
worked
knows
hard.
best.
The education piece,
Mhm,
she really instilled that in me. And then when I talk about me graduating from college the first time, I didn't do it like the right way. You should go to school. I didn't have the right way, the traditional way. But I went back to school and I was working. I was graduating. And then people would ask me like, "Hey, you making decent money now? Why you still going to school?" And really, what kept me going to school was just my parents looking at me walk away from that podium with a degree. I wasn't trying to do it for me. I was doing it for them.
mhm.
But that was my mom and dad in a nutshell. Man, my mom was just so loving. She was
Yes, she
fearless,
was. Yes,
and
she
she was
was.
overprotective to a
Mhm.
fault. And,
Yep, yep.
I probably would have publicly apologized to some young ladies out there for how my mom treated. I'm
Crystal
sorry.
got no idea how.
Yeah,
Chris, you
Crystal.
the one. You was the
I don't know
one,
if
Chris.
Crystal
You was
she
the
a
one,
20
Chris.
hour deal, if she just liked Crystal or what it was, but she definitely liked Crystal, and
Mama
you see
knows
how it worked.
best.
Yeah, see how it worked out. Yeah.
Pat, let's talk about our pioneer alumni that always
Mhm.
look out for us. Guys like Mike Harrison Sr., Eric Wright, Bobby Johnson, Eric Reeves, Twist, you know, hopefully soon to be Sheriff Edgar Ellis, just to name a few of the many, many, many O.C. Hughes Jr., the alumni from Assumption, Nat Wood, who's always eager to help fellow pioneers in East St. Louis. Talk to us about how that it's like we just been grandfathered in and how everybody just looked out for each other.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I got to give a shout out. It's a core group of class of '82 alumni, man. That they really like the glue to keep a lot of things going together.
Hmm.
Uh, Patrice and
Hmm.
Sarah Warner
Hmm.
and others. I always start calling names, you leave someone out, but even now, I think they feel that there was something special going on back then.
Hmm.
Because that class of '82, I'm just gonna be honest. I think that class of '82 was different than
Yeah, we were
'83,
tight.
'84,
We were very, very tight.
'81, '80.
Still
It
is.
was just a different class,
Hmm.
and you even see that now. But yeah, looking up at some of those folks, athletically, I remember being on the sideline in Nashville watching Bobby Johnson run a punt back,
Hmm.
and just like it's like, wow, how did he do that? Just marvel back then.
Houdini. Hmm.
It surprised me that he went to the NFL. Um, some of the others, like Mike, believe it or not, man, I just was with my last meeting today was with Mike Harris.
Oh, that
So
don't
yeah,
surprise me.
yeah, Mike was down in town and we met about some stuff. And him and Nicola, who was a alumni of Assumption, she was
Hmm.
a dance team coach. But yeah, just so many.
Hmm.
If you go back in the old days, Dick Durbin,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
getting ready to
Senator Dick
retire.
Durbin. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
from
getting ready to
Assumption.
retire, but you know, we got a lot of folks, a lot of legacy, so it's just too many to really name. But I told myself I was going to do better about keeping up with folks. But
Hmm.
here's the thing about it: it's not a competition with anyone.
Hmm.
It's just a matter. You just feel the love for having gone through that.
Hmm.
Some of the names. Ms.
Hmm.
Vogt,
Yeah,
Sister Jane, Brother Allen. Just folks that taught us all. And if we say it, you just smile when you hear those names.
yeah. Pam
Sister
Wood,
Mary Nyroy, Brother Rap.
Pam
Those
Wood.
type of things. Yeah, Pam Wood, Lou Gregory. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, and then at Coach Monken's funeral,
Hmm.
there were
Coach.
ball players that I never played with at Assumption, and I remember we went to eat somewhere after, and there's folks I didn't really know them, I never played with them, but
Hmm.
I felt like they're brother.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
you just wonder where does that come from?
Hmm.
Where does that come from? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, just so grateful I had that opportunity.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get with. I just mentioned earlier that Mr. OCU's senior was responsible for me going to Assumption. Well, Mike Harrison
Mhm.
Sr. was responsible for getting me into college.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
those guys just so when we say big brother, we ain't just saying, fun. We talking about people who actually looked out for us because they went to our same school and they had pride in us the same way we had pride in Eric and Bobby and people. They look back and they say, man, look at Patrick Smith, man. We so proud of him, man, and they are. So no, it doesn't surprise me when you say I was with Mike Harrison Sr. and talked to him. That doesn't surprise me. Tell me, how important has Crystal been to you professionally and to your family?
Yeah, man, Crystal, we were all in school at the same time. So I was in school with my younger sister Pam and my older sister Jana, who passed away breast cancer in 2018.
Mhm.
So family was in school, and then when my younger sister Lynn said she wanted to go to Lincoln, we looking, what's wrong with you? But I was also in school with Crystal, my future family.
Mhm.
And Crystal, people ask us all the time, "You high school sweethearts and this and that?" I was like, nope. She had a man. she had a man, and I knew her, and but it was interesting that her mom and her mother and my mother used to run this game that saying they worked that out, but our families knew each other, this and that. They all worked with the city in some capacity, and I knew Crystal in school. Crystal was super smart in school,
Mhm. Mhm.
and always walked down the right side of the hall, never skipped. You know, she she wasn't in our group a little. But man, I met Krista really in a different way after school when she was at WashU, and we ended up dating and then got married. But one of the things about her is, you know, one of the things that's just different about Crystal is she about family. Like I remember she's working at Illinois Power and just notable person, you know, just the state reps and state senators and they all, that never was a thing to her. She was just like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but I'm trying to get home to the kids. You know, just even right now, always just really about family. And so, and I always appreciated that because as I started coming through doing some things, I did some things that she did before me, like board service and all that. She taught me about the virtue of board service and doing it. And I followed her footsteps and that. And then, you know, she's smarter than me, just to be honest. I think Krista was second in class or first, somewhere in there. I tested well, but,
Come
but
on,
you know, I
Coach.
did the home.
As our
I
friend
did the
Bobby Lockett,
homework thing like I should. But I tested.
as our friend Bobby Lockett would say, you know, you outkicked your coverage, right?
Oh, no doubt.
You
So
definitely outkicked your coverage.
yeah, but we got like in the picture, you know, the two. I got Patrick in New York, Junior, and then I got Brittany in Lexington, and Brittany's got a married and we got two granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, it's all going well, man, and you know, I couldn't be more blessed. Yeah.
Pat, what advice do you have for young people and talk about the importance of being consistent and just showing up every day? You know, there's a saying in sports that the best ability is availability. Talk to that for a second.
Yeah, we had a CEO who retired before our CEO now, Marty Lyons, named Warner Baxter, and he would always say, leadership is a contact. And you know, it's really being present is like 70%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because some stuff just gonna fall in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're around. So being present is like 70%. And I think Denzel, I heard Denzel say this. I don't know who is attributed to, but you got to be willing to do what you have to, so you can do what you want to.
Right.
Because a lot of times I don't want to be somewhere or don't want to do this and don't want to do that. But, you know, I understand just maybe getting there that's 70% of the win,
Mm-hmm.
and providing an opportunity. And then the other thing about being president, I think when you start to try to do things for others, you know, it's easy to miss things or not take advantage of opportunities for yourself when you think that's all that's at stake. But when you're doing things in the name of your family or trying to make sure your kids are square, then that motivation is different. Like that's what got me through school and made me graduate, because I was doing it for my mom and dad. But
Right.
now, like getting up and going somewhere, going on a trip, I got to be on a plane at 6 a.m. in the morning, heading out of town for a business trip. But hey, that's because, you know, what I'm doing now is going to really take care of my kids and Crystal and my grandkids. And so it don't really feel like work. It just feels like me doing the things that I was put on the earth to do, to nurture and provide and protect.
Well, we know you're a very important person, and we so appreciate your time on the Tom the Bomb Show. Hey, let's take a break, and then we'll be right back with Patrick Smith Sr. and Troy and Felix will join us, and we'll be talking a little bit sports. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Here.
But not for the Joneses.
With Window Nation, it's never too late in the season to replace your drafty old windows.
They didn't even have to leave their home.
Or empty their wallet.
Amazing.
See how much you could save with a free estimate today.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palma at the Islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and insatiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and an astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
All righty, and we're back, and we got Troy joining us and Felix. Let me turn it over to you, Troy. If you want to yell at your Uncle Pat. And
Hey, what's going on? Just want to say it's always good to hear from you. Love you, man. Hope the family's doing well. I just got one question. Given that I know you for a long time since I was a baby, one thing that I admired when I would come back in town with my dad is being able to come see you and Pat Jr. I remember coming to some of his games back when he played AAU, and I remember you gave me that Reebok bag back in the day. So I was the coolest person. Reebok bag. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because one thing my father structured his life on is just building relationships with people that he plays sports with. So given the position that you in right now, as a role as CEO, how would you say sports has kind of helped shape the mold of who you are as a person and how you handle business day in and day out?
Man, Troy, that's a advanced question, Troy. I hear you, brother. Hey, proud of you too, man, and all your exploits and being able to whip up on your dad in golf. But that's a great question, man. You know what? But it's actually something that I think about. And so this might sound silly, but hey, I'm just going to be transparent. I think about being smaller, playing football, because I can remember like as a junior, being like 155 pounds, 5'10", 5'9", 155 pounds. And I remember like thinking that, okay, I'm playing against this team. They got defensive end, 6'6", 280, lineman. And being able to do that, because I didn't come up playing football. I started playing football in high school. And then being able to do that, and then, you realize you are stronger and tougher than you think. And so that's something I think about a lot, Troy, is just having the confidence that, there's probably more to you than you know. You're always tougher than you think. And the other thing I'll tell you is, Tommy and I were playing in a football game in Freeburg, and we were losing, and I think we were losing 6-0. And it was late in the game, and with maybe a minute left or so, Tommy dropped a touchdown pass in that game too, but it was late in the game. We scored, and we kicked the extra point and won. All right. So fast forward to the next day, that next Saturday morning, and my dad's sitting in the family room with me reading the paper. And he read the headline that Assumption Pioneers almost succumbed to Freeburg. And I looked at him, I said, what? What are they talking about? He said, they said we almost lost? He said, yeah, you did almost lose. I said, no, we didn't. And that amazed me, man, because I've been chasing this feeling for the rest of my life. The feeling of superior confidence, because I remember in that game, this is honest God truth, I never, ever, ever thought we would lose.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
I just assumed we were going to do something and win. And I was like, man. And, if I could bottle that and make sure and have that now as an executive, I could even do better things. But those are some of the lessons that I remember, Troy, just from playing ball with your dad and coming up playing sports.
Felix, you have any questions, Felix?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. You still is the best side man in the business. Okay, guys, let's get to it. Look, let's start off with the NBA All-Star Game 2026 winners and losers. Welcome to the annual Tom the Bomb winner and losers NBA All-Star Game. First of all, I'm shocked that I even watched it and actually enjoyed it. We were clearly the biggest winners was the league itself, as the players actually showed up and they actually tried. And my eyes deceived me because I actually saw some of them playing defense, uh, being played under the USA versus the world format. Uh, Big winner being Victor Wembanyama, as Wemby changed the tone of the game from the first tip, winning the tip, and then throwing down a thunderous dunk on Cade Cunningham. Okay, first question for you guys: did this new format make a difference in the competitive in the competitiveness of the All Star game? Felix, go ahead. What with that?
Okay, so I would say yes, and this is something that I've noticed across sports. So essentially, one thing you have to know about professional sports, these people, they're playing for teams that they have no connection to on average as kids. These people did not grow up a fan of the teams that they rooted for. So, but conversely, if you have a USA versus world, okay, if you grew up in the United States and you're playing for your country, you're playing, it has a different feel to it. And you see it on the Olympic level, for example, with hockey. Hockey, when they did the All-Star game last week, it was the most ferocious All-Star game in the history of the NHL when they did the Olympic format, USA versus Canada, so on and so forth. Because, and it makes sense because guess what? For example, Tom Wilson, he grew up in Canada. He didn't grow up a Caps fan. So him playing for the Eastern Conference, him playing for, the Capitals, it doesn't mean the same to him than, say, playing for Team Canada, something he probably wanted to do since he was a child. So conversely for the NBA, Kevin Durant, he's from the DMV. He probably never dreamed of playing for the Western All-Stars or what have you, or the All-Stars of the Thunder back when he was there. Thunder didn't exist when he was a kid. So by switching it to this format, I feel like it gives them more of an incentive because it's something, again, that they identify with. Either Team World is an international player in the NBA or playing for their country.
Okay. Troy, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the format. I like it for two reasons mainly. The first reason being it gives a chance to highlight more talent throughout the NBA. To see Danny Avdija, get a chance to play in the All-Star game, that was awesome. His first appearance. To see all these young guys be able to play with guys that they usually don't get a chance to play with, that was fun to see. But mostly, it's like when you got East versus West, there are guys that usually don't make it, only
Right.
because they got guys like Steph Curry and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving ahead of them, and they can only have so many point guards. And now you got guys like Jamal Murray out there playing. You got guys like Tyrese Maxey. You got all these different options to be able to see how these guys can mesh and play well with one another. And then two, I feel like with what's going on in the world right now, to be able to highlight different countries, to be able to show unity through a sport, but it have a deeper meaning than that. I think the way that they were able to highlight, okay, you got different parts of the world playing against guys from all different parts of the United States, but together we're all part of one unit being the NBA. So I thought that was cool. I love how they came out and sang "Oh Canada" to start the presentation for like the national anthem, and then Brandy and her crew did their thing, which I thought they did phenomenal, by the way. And ultimately, it just shows unity in a time of confusion. And
Good point.
ultimately, I feel like being able to just connect on something as simple as this proves the bigger picture of no matter what we see on social media or what we see on TV, that it doesn't ultimately take over what we have in our heart as human beings.
Now, Pat, I know you got in a little late. Were you able? What was your thoughts on it, Pat?
Yeah, as you know, Tom, I was traveling coming back from a funeral, so I didn't see the all. I just saw the Ant-Man getting I guess he got the MVP.
Right.
But I will say this. I will say this. And my plan is to watch it back on the app. But what was going on prior in the past is not sustainable. It's either do like the NFL, when they stopped the Pro Bowl and just went to something else totally different,
Right.
or because coming out there with seeing folks with the lackadaisical defense that was being played, that was disheartening and disappointing. So,
Right.
listening to Troy and Felix, and you hear the energy that that they put into it, similar to how the WNBA All Star Game was. Now they went at it, and so I'm glad to hear that, and I'm looking forward to watching.
Okay. Okay. Here's a question for the panel now. If you guys are starting a draft today, and you're getting the first pick, can you take anyone other than Wimby with your first draft pick and defend your answer if you're not taking Wimby first? Felix, go.
I'm taking Wemby. Do I still have to defend my answer?
Yeah, I still want you to defend your answer. Why are you taking Wimby first?
Perfect. I'm taking Wemby because he's the kind of person you need in the modern NBA. He's the kind of person who can play in the paint and the perimeter. That's a lost art, and that gives you an edge. It's something that allows you to control tempo, and it's something that allows you to get more high chance shots. And I'm going to drag the Wizards into this because
You're contractually obligated. I understand, Felix. Go ahead.
their win percentage went up. When they slowed down the pace of gameplay, their win percentage went up, and that's why I'm so big on Will Riley. He's nowhere near Wemby as of right now. But when you have that archetype of an NBA player, that boosts your team's ability greatly, especially, again, in this era where there's too much of a premium placed on perimeter shooting.
Troy, who you taking first?
Yeah, man, that's not a question. I'm definitely taking Wemby.
Okay.
First pick. Ultimately creates mismatches, man. He's already 7'4", so that's a mismatch in itself. But the fact that he can handle the ball, he can move the ball in transition without slowing the pace down. If he needs to facilitate, he can facilitate. If he's anywhere within 8 feet of the rim, he's going to dunk the ball, right? He can shoot the pop three. He can shoot off the screen. He can defend, and he's agile enough to keep up with the 4 and the 5. So when I look at that and the fact that he's still super young, he's nowhere close to 25 yet.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets to that point, when he gets to his later 20s and he starts to really bulk up and really start to find his game even more progressive than what he got now, he only gonna get better and better, man.
Pat, a lot of people don't know that you have extensive AAU coaching background and that some of your players have actually made it to the NBA. Who are you taking first, Pat?
Yeah, I think it's hard not to take Wemby, and I'll go a different angle with it, the business end of it. I think Wemby is a novel talent, not only from a physical perspective, just that big, being able to do the things that he's doing, but part of being sustainable as a franchise is to be able to fill the seats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's an instant seat filler for the business side of the franchise that you're trying to, because a lot of that ecosystem, that financial ecosystem, breeds success as far as your ability to get other players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's just, he's almost like Otani is to baseball. I
Right.
think that's what Wemby is to the NBA, is the same thing that Otani is to baseball. Troy, it looked like that the old heads, LeBron, KD, and Kawhi's team, looked like they got tired after winning games 2 and 3. What was your take on that, Troy?
If everybody giving full energy, that's to be expected. Them guys in their late 30s pushing. Well, LeBron's in his 40s now, right? So, I mean, it's a different game. The pace is picked up. Game in transition, even though it was an all-star game, at the end of the day, they still treated it as if it was a real game. They went down, they made a lot of extra passes to the open man to keep the ball swinging. It wasn't just sloppy basketball, it was poetic basketball. So I feel as if that too, mixed in with these young guys just ready to run the floor, it's only so much the old heads can do.
Felix, Kawhi Leonard put on a show in Game 3, scoring 31 points in the 48-45 victory over Team World. How should the Clippers fan feel about this going forward, Felix? Felix, you there? I think we dropped Felix.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So first off, I want to say, number one, I'm taken aback by the fact that you just casually said LeBron James is 40. That's jarring to me. I grew up watching. And secondly, going back to the whole thing about Kawhi Leonard, I don't think they should be surprised by what they saw there. I mean, this is just more of the same from them. But what I'd say is he's been in the NBA for a long time now, and it's good news for the Clippers fans because it means Kawhi Leonard, he's still doing what he was doing. He's still capable of doing what brought him to the dance, so to speak. So it means that he still has something in in him for the Clippers, and like I said, it's a good sign moving forward.
Troy, comment on that too, Troy.
Yeah, it's definitely a good sign. He ain't much different than what he was when he was with San Antonio. I feel like he was a little bit more agile, a little less injury prone back then. But I feel like as if the way staple of his game is, he's going to play defense. He's going to shuffle his feet. When he gets the ball, when he gets to a spot, he's not afraid to shoot. And when he gets hot, he gets hot. The man is he has multiple rings. He won two with two different organizations. When it comes down to if he can be the one to actually show up, I mean, he has a resume up.
Okay, I want all you guys to answer this. Let's start off with Pat. Pat, I personally don't think that Team USA can beat Team World in a real gold medal type competition. I know that Steph Curry didn't play for Team USA, but the world team was without Giannis, the Freak, and SGA. Pat, do you think USA could beat Team World? What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I think you saw in the Olympics, right, where I think Curry was definitely the star of the show right down the stretch and helped. And I think you saw the resurgence of LeBron when handled right and being able to be a little bit rested and play in specific scenarios the way he dominated in the Olympics. So, I think at the end of the day, the expectation of winning still resides with the USA. And Tommy, you're an athlete, and you know how that is with a team. You can be a little better than a team, but if the other team just has an expectation and the confidence that, hey, this is us and we're going to win, that's an opponent in itself. So I think until they're handled in that situation, the expectation is still and the confidence still resides with the USA, and I think that will give them the edge because the margin of talent is not that great.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now Troy, we're not talking about the Olympics. We're talking about Team World. I think Team USA still wins the Olympics because we're playing country to country. But I'm talking about Team World. I think the last five MVPs, I could be wrong. I know Felix will correct me. I think the last five MVPs have not been from the United States. Troy, does Team USA beat Team World, Troy, in like an Olympic competition?
I think Team World. Here's one thing I'll say. It's the saying: hard work beats talent, but talent doesn't work hard, right?
Right.
If talent works hard, it's hard to beat talent. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if they came out hungry, I mean, you got Giannis, you got SGA, you got Jokic, you got Luka, you got all these guys that
Murray.
You'll be top 10. You said what?
Murray at the shooting
Murray,
guard.
you got Wemby, you got all these guys, and if they come out hungry, there's no team in history, in my opinion, that could handle them, and with the pace that they play. They got the best player on their team is the most lethargic. He don't even take the All-Star game serious, right? But when he turns up, can't nobody stop that big circle. You get what I'm saying? So, I'm looking at it as Team USA in their prime year. Right now, no.
Okay, now let's say in their prime. In their prime, does Team USA beat Team World? What do you say, Troy?
Team USA, stop playing.
Okay, all right. Felix.
You got Kevin Durant and LeBron James.
Okay, all right, okay. Felix, Team USA in their prime versus Team World in their prime. Who do you like and defend that, Felix?
Okay, first off, if you're saying prime, no one's beating prime Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry on the same team. LeBron James, mind you,
on the same team, dog.
Here's the thing: LeBron James wasn't even in his prime when he was dropping 40 per game on average in the 2018 NBA Finals. And here's the funny thing: Curry and Kevin Durant, they were outscored. They swept them in that series. I mean, you're saying USA in their prime, and I'll say this about Team World. I give them credit. I love the expansion of the sport of basketball. I love how sports are getting around the world and people have an equal opportunity to access the highest level of different sports. But I'm trying to. Objectively speaking, when you say prime, that's an easy question. I
Prime.
thought you were about to ask him right now.
No. We talking prime. So you like USA in the prime?
Yeah, I expected a harder question. I mean, you're saying prime. That's easy.
Okay, we got 3-1. I still like Team World, man. I really do. MVP Anthony Edwards, how good is this guy? After Wemby, where does this guy fall in your best player rankings, Pat?
I think he's got the talent for sure. I do question some of the discipline, and I think he's doing a lot now off of he's a young guy, he's still in shape. I'm wondering, you see some of the choices that he makes and the decisions. So, you do one thing how you do everything. And so I'm wondering later in his career where he just can't jump over folks and, he's not faster than everyone. Like you said, how you saw Michael and Kobe kind of reinvent themselves
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to always be motivated. And so what supplements that is being disciplined. And I don't know. I think now he's motivated because he wants to be spoke of along with Mike and Kobe and others. But I don't know that he's disciplined to have that type of career. So I think he'll be thought of as a very good player, but it remains to be seen if he can lock in.
Troy, what's your thoughts on that one?
Just want to let you know I can't hear anything that my uncle's saying because I'm through the phone, so
Okay.
I didn't really hear him.
Okay. Well, you heard the question, right? With on Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, so I feel like he's definitely, without a doubt, the best shooting guard in the game right now, and that's a statement. But with that said, I would say he's still probably like 7, 8, around that range. Still not better than like guys like Wemby, Giannis, SGA. The list goes on. I don't even need to go through it, but ultimately, I feel like he still has a little bit more to prove, for himself. And even though tonight he's been a bona fide scorer, playing in front of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. And one thing I want to point out about that, the video that came out a few years ago when Barack Obama went to LeBron and KD and said, "Oh yeah, is he really him?" Because he keeps saying he's him, but it's like I don't even really know if he know what he's talking about. And they went and defended him. He's going to go get older and older. He's going to become the face of the league one day. So, well, outside of the league, of course, but yeah, he's legit.
Felix, quickly wrap us up on that one, Felix. Felix?
Can you restate the question?
Yeah, we're talking about Ant-Man. Which after Wemby, where does he fit in your top players in the NBA?
Where does he fit in the top players of the NBA? He's definitely up there. Definitely. I mean, it goes without saying. And I feel like Troy, for the most part, covered it up. And it's just a matter of him. I would say it's just a matter of him being in the right situation. And it's just a matter of him being in the right situation to get the best results out. But we already know he's among the best and moreover at his position. So, yeah.
Okay, gang, we're about 2 weeks from the best sporting event in America, the Big Dance, the NCAA Tournament March Madness. And this is, everybody loves the Super Bowl, man, but for me, nothing tops March Madness. Okay, so here's Tom the Bomb's early line on bracketology, okay? So let's start off here with the number 1 seeds. Right now, we're looking at Michigan with the number 1 seed. We got followed closely by Duke, Arizona, and then Houston. Let's start off with Michigan. Michigan will retain the number 1 overall seed, even with tough matchups. They got some tough matchups coming up against Purdue and Illinois. Real quick, what you guys' thoughts on Michigan? Real quick, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're perennial. Obviously, I think they've only lost 1 game this year, if I'm correct.
Right.
But they still got to fight their way through the Big Ten, so they could easily come out with a couple more losses.
Easily.
Yeah, I just think NIL and just a lot of the movement is going to make this tournament unlike any before. Okay. And I know you always expect upsets in the tournament, but watch out for this one to be a little bit different in the volatility.
Okay, Troy, you get number 2. You get Dr. Lawrence Duke Blue Devils. Dukes have moved up into the pecking order to the number 1 seed. They are the cream of the crop of coming out of the ACC, and it's the NCAA bylaws that an ACC team has to have a number one seed in the tournament. Troy, what's your thoughts on Duke this year?
Of course, they're going to spread the rock out. I mean, they're going to spread the court. They're going to keep swinging the rock to one another. If they play well on defense, I just feel as if even with them having a high seed, it's like they got to find a way to get over that hump of not choking in some scenarios. So I still feel as if this team still has a lot more to prove, but I feel like they'll make like the Elite Eight at least.
Okay. Felix, you get Arizona. Arizona had a bad week for the first time all season, going from unbeaten to losing twice in a week to Kansas and Texas Tech. The Wildcats, I think, still are going to bounce back against they got a game coming up against a tough BYU team. Felix, what's your thoughts on Houston? I'm sorry, on Arizona.
I wouldn't take those two losses too seriously. If they had a win streak as long as they did and they're just losing now, I would say that it's usually a sports team has to lose sometime, and it's probably best they get it out the way now. Identify their weaknesses while they can still stay in it, and lose games again while they can still afford to do so. So I'd say this: Arizona, although I don't think that they're going to win the tournament, I think they have a solid chance. They actually may very well win the tournament. I will not be shocked if they wind up in the Final Four. But again, I'd say that those two losses, I wouldn't even think about those.
I agree with you, Felix. That's why we're talking about these top eights, because I legitimately believe that any of these 8 teams can cut the nets down. I got number 4, Houston, who always seems to have the most athletic and talented team over the last few years under Coach Kelvin Sampson. As other teams in the Big 12 start to fall, the Cougars are slowly rising, but they got a tough upcoming game. I think tonight, a really good Iowa State team. That's going to be a good game. What to watch tonight? Houston and Iowa State. You guys should be watching that tonight. That's going to be critical in determining the Big 12 championship. Also, Duke has Syracuse. So let's get to our number 2 seeds. Our number 2 seeds, let's start off with number 1, Iowa State. Pat, Iowa State is coming off a big win over Kansas, which helped them rebound quickly from a loss that they knocked off. They knocked off the number 1 seed. The Cyclones are, if they knock them off, I think the Cyclones can still have a number 1 seed. Probably the best chance to go from a 2 seed to a number 1 seed, like I said, if they can knock off Houston in an upcoming matchup tonight. What's your thoughts on Iowa State, Pat?
Yeah, I think they're riding high off of the big win over Bill Self. We were talking about that at work today, but I don't see Iowa having a long run in the tournament.
Okay.
I just think I just don't think they're bringing the traditional talent to make a deep run.
Okay. Well, let's stay here with Pat. We're going to get to you in a second, Troy, Felix. Pat, let's talk about the Illini. They just beat Indiana by 20 after back-to-back overtime Big Ten losses to Michigan State and Wisconsin, which doesn't bother me at all because everyone loses on the road in the Big Ten. If you know anything about the Big Ten, when you get a win on a victory, that's something. This week, though, is their West Coast swing, Pat, and they take on a desperate bubble team in USC and a good team in UCLA. But the Illini biggest test is coming on February 27th as they take on the Michigan Wolverines. And like Iowa State, Illinois still has an outside chance at a number 1 seed. Illinois has officially turned into a Euro team with 5 of the top European players on one team. Illinois has the biggest team in the country with their Euro connection, starting off with the Ivizic brothers at 7-1 and 7-2. 2 brothers, 7-1 and 7-2. Then you got David Merkovich, he's 6'9". You got Ben Humer-Charles, he's 6'9". You got your 3-point shooting specialist, Jake Davis, is 6'6". Andrew Stojkovic, who's Peja Stojkovic's son. You remember him, Troy Peja? As his son, he's 6'7". And then you got the freshman sensation, Keaton Wagler. He's also 6'6". And then running the point, you got senior guard Kylan Boswell at 6'3". He's their defensive specialist, and he's probably the most athletic. One that truly makes the Illini. What truly makes the Illini dangerous, Pat, is number 1, their enormous size and their offensive rebounding. And I think they're the best 3-point shooting team in the nation. And they can put a lineup on the floor where all 5 players shoot over 40% from the 3-point arc. How do you defend that? Pat, what's your thoughts on the Illini this year?
Yeah, I like the line. I've been up there a couple times
Mm-hmm.
to see them play and saw them in the bragging rights where they destroyed my friend Dennis Gates and the Tigers, who I'm also a big fan of. But the one thing here's what I look at with them in the tournament is, first of all, they create matchup problems, and so you don't the tournament, things happen quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know who you're going to have, and so you don't have a lot of time to prepare for those different type of matchups with that size and that ability to shoot from perimeter with that size. Secondly, is they're an excellent free throw shooting team, and they can shoot free throws.
Yep.
And a lot of times in the tournament, that's what it comes down to: who can make the free throws. So I think a lineup. I mean, coach, he's he stubbed his toe a few times, but I think he's got a shot this year to get into the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. Wow, man. I think that'll be a disappointment if they just make the Elite Eight. But the Big Ten has a way of choking in the tournament. Troy, you get Purdue. The Purdue Boilermakers have become tournament mainstays lately as they look to continue their surge in analytics and move up with opportunities to jump possibly to the #1 line. If they can beat #1 Michigan, Purdue is dangerous because they always have a mature senior-led team with great team chemistry. I love basketball because the best teams win, not necessarily the most talented team. And that's Purdue MO, and that's their calling card. The Big Ten always chokes in the big dance, the exception being Purdue. Troy, what's your thoughts on Purdue?
Well, in order for them to beat Michigan, they're gonna have to bring it. Michigan is by far the best team in college basketball.
Okay.
In my opinion, and it's like the overall just like differential of points of how they're winning. Purdue's gonna have to come out firing in order to beat them. Now they have been playing well, but again, with the dance coming up, anything can happen. So I feel as if they got somewhat momentum going on, given that they're 21-4, and given they could be in second place in the standings if they would have like one more win in the Big Ten. But I just feel as if around like Sweet 16, maybe, and then it's out.
Okay. Felix, you get UConn. Troy and Felix, how often do we talk about on the show? How often do we say that coaching matters on the show? Danny Hurley always has his teams prepared. Coming off a good win over Georgetown, they fit comfortably into the #2 seed line. But another good win over Creighton coming up could push the Huskies up to a #1 seed. And they have that championship pedigree and the experience to be taken seriously when we start talking about cutting down the nets at the end of the season. Felix, what's your thoughts on UConn?
I think you broke it down the best. I mean, they're a program that is good from the root. Basically, you have a coach that knows how to manage talent, knows how to acquire, you have a program that knows how to acquire talent, scout talent, and manage the talent. And UConn has been elite without fail. That's the thing about college sports and international sports. Those are two places where you can't do a standard trade like you can in pro sports. It all boils down to acquisition and roster management. And UConn in the last decade plus has been an absolute masterclass of that in collegiate basketball.
Well, we just a couple of weeks away, and I love the Super Bowl, but this is without a doubt my favorite sporting event of the year. And man, I really, the way Troy loves high school and college football, and I don't pay no attention to the NBA until the playoffs start because they don't play no defense until the playoffs start. So I just ain't interested in that. But man, I love college basketball, man. That's the one thing I will get up on a Saturday and watch. Okay, guys. Huh? Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say they stopped playing defense altogether 7 years ago. Go on.
Yeah. Felix, I'm just looking forward to when Washington D.C. gets an NBA team. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So am I.
Okay, guys, let's move on to our next topic. Listen, guys, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning stirred up a hornet's nest when they publicly picked their Mount Rushmore of all-time receivers. So let's go over their picks, and then I want you guys to give me your own Mount Rushmore. So Tom Brady's Mount Rushmore is Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Larry Fitzgerald, and Gronk. That's Tom Brady. That's Tom Brady's Rushmore. Peyton Manning's Rushmore of receivers is Jerry Rice, Marvin Harrison, Raymond Berry, and Tony Gonzalez. Troy, what do you think of Peyton and Brady's Mount Rushmore? And then give me yours.
So, I mean, Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning, but I don't really agree with him on, Raymond Berry,
Absolutely.
respectfully, and Tony Gonzalez, respectfully. But, everybody has their own opinion. But one thing I'll say is, if you don't got Jerry Rice as number one, you don't really know football. So, Jerry Rice has to be number one. I feel as if Randy Moss should be number two. For me personally, I'll put T.O. at number three, and then Gronk at tight end.
At number 4, you got Gronk on your Mount Rushmore. Okay, Pat.
Well,
Pat.
I'm saying as a tight end, so that's why I said.
Well, he don't have to be. This is just whoever's catching the ball. It can be anybody that catches the ball.
Okay, well, I'll take that back then. Calvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson. Okay, all right. Pat, what do you think of their Mount Rushmore, and who do you like in your top 4, Pat?
Yeah, no, I definitely. When you talk about Rice and Moss, that's a barbershop debate, and the reason because the body of work for Rice is incredible, but Moss is more of a unique talent. Rice was a disciplined route runner. He was fast. He just did everything right, and he delivered. And obviously, he had Hall of Fame quarterback. But when you think Moss was just a little bit more of a freak type player. So I would have Moss and Rice 1A and 1B. I'm gonna go with a guy that's quiet and understated, and played for losing teams a lot, so you don't know a lot about him. But that's Isaac Bruce.
Okay.
Isaac Bruce is one of the best route runners in the game, and he always delivered, including the big catch to win the Super Bowl, the only Super Bowl for the Rams. So.
Okay. And who's your 4th guy?
I think probably Marvin Harrison. I think probably because he was able to spare another great wide receiver with his son.
Okay. If that's the case, I'm picking Pep. I'm taking Pep on my team if that's the case. Felix, what do you think of Brady's and Manning's Mount Rushmore, and give us yours?
Here's what I think about their Mount Rushmores. First off, I mean, they ask for receivers, not tight ends. And
I agree.
Tight ends and receivers, they have 2 completely different duties. Although both of their primary objectives is to catch the ball and advance the ball, you have to understand that tight ends, they're not facing the top coverage guys in the same way the receivers are. Receivers have to deal with the top coverage guys. If not, they're dealing with this direct coverage constantly.
I knew I could count on you to catch this, Felix. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And tight ends, more likely than not, they're dealing with the loose zone coverage from linebackers. So, again, I'm not trying to discredit tight ends. I feel like tight ends are a very important anchor to a successful offense. They provide, one commentator said, as a safety blanket. I believe I first heard that from Gus Johnson. So I think that was a good, because, they're the quick release option. If everything's covered, they're more likely going to be able to get you some yards. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, going back to the main point for my top receivers, obviously Jerry Rice. I feel like that's universal common knowledge among football historians. Then afterwards, you'd have to say Randy Moss. He's considered one of the greatest deep threats in the sport of football. He was nearly automatic earlier in his career. And, of course, I'm going to go with Calvin Johnson. The thing is that his height and his jumping ability, here's the thing, most people his size are not that mobile. They're not that agile. You have speed, jumping ability. It doesn't matter how many guys you put on him. He's going to be able to make the catch. So it's essentially everything you want in a receiver: route running, jumping ability, and catching ability. Mm-hmm. Then I would say that 4th spot is kind of a toss-up. I mean, I would want to say Terrell Owens. I mean, I don't want to include any current players because I don't feel like they have the same data yet. But I would say that if I had to pick someone, I'm just going to go with Terrell Owens because, I mean, I think I'd cause another hornet's nest situation if I were to use a current player. That's always, I notice in these debates, you're always going to be accused of recency bias if you throw in a current player.
Yeah. Well, I think Brady and Manning should both be punched in the back of their heads. There's no way that Gronk and Tony Gonzalez is on this. Felix caught that, totally caught that. We're talking about receivers, and Felix, you make a great point that a tight end is not being covered by the best defenders. They got quicker releases. It's Mount Rushmore of receivers, and that's why I think Peyton and Tom should be busting the back of their head for putting tight ends. Now I know Peyton he's a historian, so don't get it twisted. Raymond Berry was an unbelievable receiver, a precision route runner, maybe pair of the best hands to ever play the game. But there's no way Raymond Berry is on Mount Rushmore. No way. And I hate to be here, but I'm in. It's probably going to snow here because I'm in total agreement with Troy and Felix. It's Jerry Rice, it's Randy Moss, it's Megatron, and it's T.O. Period. That's what it is. That's the Mount Rushmore. So I'm in total agreement with you guys. I knew Felix was going to catch it. I can't get nothing past Felix. The only person that cut me harder than Felix is Lauren. I can't get nothing past her either. I know Felix wasn't going to let me get past it. Hey guys, look, after surging into contention on Saturday with the brilliant 10 under par 62, Colin Morikawa closed the deal at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He fended off a crowded leaderboard with up to 15 golfers in contention on the line. It was so good that my 100-year-old Uncle Zuber, called me and say, "Man, are you watching this golf?" One of the hardest things to do in golf is to follow up your best round with another good round after that. So on Saturday, Colin fired a 67 on Sunday to win. And I think it might have been better than his record-setting 62 because of the weather conditions and because of the pressure of winning against a star-studded field. Now, Akshay Bhatia, he couldn't do it. He blew a 5-shot lead from Saturday and ended up shooting a pedestrian 72. Now we talked about this a while when Tony Finau couldn't get over the hump, when Tommy Fleetwood couldn't get over the hump. On Sunday, in golf, Saturday is called moving day. That's the day you make your move. But on Sunday, you can't go for a walk in the park on Sunday and shoot a pedestrian 72. And that's what Batia did. He just shot even par. Now, and so on Sunday, Murakami finished at 22 under par to secure a one-shot victory for his 7th career victory and his first win since 2023. Now, for his efforts, Colin Morikawa takes home the first place check of $3.6 million for 4 days of work. Felix, say it with me. Get your kids out playing golf, okay? There's a term that we talk about with a player having his A game or having his B game, etc. Scotty Scheffler is the number one golfer in the world, and he clearly didn't have his A game over this weekend. But Troy, his B game is better than 98% of most of the professional golfers in the world. And if Scotty is putting well, he's impossible to beat. So Scotty Scheffler started 8 shots back on Sunday, and then he fired a 9 under par round of 63, where Batia shot a 72. Scotty fired a 9 under par 63 to finish at 20 under par with a ridiculous eagle on the iconic 18th finishing hole at Pebble Beach. Troy, did you catch any of this at tournament at all, Troy? I know you might have been at work.
Yeah, I was working. I saw like clips of it though. I'm looking at it as all the guys, all the big names, they woke up too late. You look at Rory. Rory shot 8 under. Rory shot 64, right? But he still finished at 17 under. Like consistency, you got to find a way in this day and age. You got to find a way to shoot 4 under par on average to try to find a way to win a tournament,
especially on Sunday.
Ultimately, especially on Sunday. But going back to Colin, he handled his business. Held his composure, and I'm happy for him. Be able to get this win. This is huge for him.
Yep. Okay, gang, let's get to our trivia question for today. All righty. So our trivia question, Gina Green, I thought you were going to chase that for me. Gina Green, East St. Louis native, just won her first Super Bowl ring, and Tom the Bomb is wearing his Seattle colors in Gina's honor. There you go, Gina. A couple of weeks ago with the Seattle Seahawks. So our trivia question today is, how many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings? How many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl leagues? Let's let our guests go first. Pat, you want to take a shot at this? How many East St. Louisans have won Super Bowl rings? You want to take a shot, Pat? Is Pat there? Did you mute him? Pat, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Did you hear that question, our trivia question?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
talking.
So how many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings? What's your guess?
I think it was obvious too, but I'm thinking I'm gonna say 3.
3? Okay. Troy, how many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings? 7. Okay. Felix, how many East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings?
5.
5. Okay. All righty. Okay. Well, the answer is Troy. Troy's right. It's 7 East St. Louis natives have won Super Bowl rings.
All right, Harry Edwards.
Gina Green in 22 this year at 2026. Bobby Johnson in 1986 with the New York Giants. Brian Cox in 2001 with the New England Patriots. Shelby Jordan, that's the one you guys probably would have had trouble with, in 1983 with the Raiders. And Felix, they won over the Washington Redskins, and they were the Redskins at this point. And Big Brother Almighty Eric Wright with 4 Super Bowl rings in 1982, 1985, 1989, and 1990. And the 7th East St. Louis with a Super Bowl ring is the 49ers, Dr. Harry Edwards, who also won a ring with the 49ers. So how about that for some trivia for you, Felix? Let me just throw this in there. We also have other notable East St. Louis NFL players include Hall of Fame tight end Kellen Winslow Sr., Dana Howard, who's had the privilege of gracing the show on the Tom the Bomb Show, Kerry Glenn, who I played against in school, Victor Kubu Scott, who I also played against in school, and currently Antonio Johnson of the Jacksonville Jaguars is also an East St. Louis native as well.
James Harris.
Wow.
Say again?
Wow.
How about that? Hey, they don't call them the City of Champions for that. Are we making that up, Pat?
Now I think. Can you hear me, Tommy?
Yeah, I can hear you.
James Harris. Remember James Harris played quarterback?
I remember James Harris. Yes, played basketball against him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he was. I don't know. I didn't know if you listed him or not.
I didn't. I missed him. Thank you, because there's so many more. Man, it's just the talent is just off. It's just flat off the chain, man. It's a very, very serious thing. I keep trying to convince Felix. You know, I don't want Felix to just think I'm a homer. But here's the thing that I want to add. You know, we had Bobby Johnson on a couple of weeks ago, and what he said, I've heard Jackie Joyner Kersey say, I've heard Tina Hutchinson say, I've heard so many other different athletes, and they say, yeah, well, you know, there were people who was better than me, they just didn't make it. And that's what's shocking. You know, I played with guys like Ronnie Parnell and Edward Spanky Wilson, Spankola Wilson, and people like that you know the world may not know of. Tommy Johnson, you know, we saw guys, but you know Bobo Johnson, you know, Jimmy Evans, you know, we saw these guys play, and you might not see them on the next level, but you know, there's people that have made it to the top of the rung from East St. Louis, and they'll quickly tell you, you know, I wasn't even the best. Hey, gang, that's our show for today. We want to thank our guest, Mr. Patrick E. Smith Sr., President, Chairman of Ameren, Illinois. Thank you very much, Pat. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tommy.
You know, you're always welcome on the show, man. I love you. You have anything you want to say closing out, Pat?
Yeah, no, I just appreciate it, man. I think, you know, Crystal put the link out on the cousins chat. So I just want to, if any of my cousins are on there, you know, we run deep. My mom had 11 brothers and sisters. And so, hey, just glad to say hello to them. And hey, appreciate you and Lauren. You're doing good work. And happy to represent East St. Louis and my family tonight. So, and great to catch up with Troy Felix as well. Thank you, Tom.
Pat, we forgot to give a shout out to Lorna, who also shares a birthday with you and I.
Yeah,
Right?
Lorna, February 11th. Yeah,
Yep,
it's
yep,
another
yep.
one.
It
A few
was a
more
good
out there.
day. February 11th was a good day. You didn't have to use your AK. Felix, Troy, you guys got anything you want to say before we close out?
I want to say this. I didn't expect you to make an Ice Cube reference today, but here we are.
I'm being influenced by you, Felix. I'm watching the Washington Sports Den, and I keep hearing you singing and joking on your show, and I'm like, I got to be more like Felix, you know?
I appreciate that.
Troy?
Yeah, man. Ultimately, it's great hearing from you. I haven't talked to you in a while. Like I said, you have always been a staple. You, my Crystal, everybody in the family. It's always been good times being around y'all. Much love. Hope all is well. And yeah, we gotta catch up more.
Absolutely, man. Hope to see you somewhere soon, Troy.
All righty. Safe travel mercies to you. Hey, gang, that's our show for today. Like I said, we want to thank Pat. We want to thank Felix. We want to thank Troy. You guys are excellent as usual. Hey, listen, don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube. Hit that like bell for us. If you're enjoying the content and you'd like to bless our ministry, you can sow into the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk by cash apping us at $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. We have a whole page of the City of Champions on our website. So if you guys haven't checked out the website, at least go in and check that out. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Again, that's info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, listen, for a dynamic and in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Saturday. On Saturday, okay, you hear that, Felix? On Saturday on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. His future's so bright, he got to wear shades, man. Hey, man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. We know there's plenty of other things you can do. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you that there won't be room enough to receive. And listen, God wants to introduce you to abundance. Blessings down here that just won't be room enough to contain it as you live off the overflow and step boldly into the realm of grace. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the third day, not necessarily a Thursday, just for you. And if you do that, if you believe that and you confess it with your heart, and if you confess it with your mouth and believe in your heart, like I said, that Jesus died on the third day, the word says that you will be saved. He'll leave the 99 and come find the one. Hey, gang, Tom the Bomb wants to leave you with a final thought. Duct tape may patch a lot of things, but 3 nails fixed everything. Okay? How about that? Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. We want to thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you on this same bat time on this same bat channel, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our Friday night Grace Devotionals at 6 p.m. Eastern with Dr. Lauren. You guys want to come on just to see her. Don't forget Tom the Bomb. Dr. Lauren will be here. You guys have a good evening. God bless you. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
This is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine, daughter of mine. This is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles are mine, stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine, daughter of mine,
right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight and soar out of darkness to its revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life. Cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer, made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give sight, leading lost souls to a glorious light. I am light.
Daughter of mine, this is your time.